Joined by Jim Bowen of our climate show. Morning, Jim.
Morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's Wonderful Wednesday.
Perfect. Every day is wonderful on Pure West Radio.
Yes, it is. Jim, it's lovely to see you. I've just remembered now, I saw you a couple of weeks ago in Narberth in the Queen's Hall. Great to see you in person, because we always hear each other's voices. It was lovely to have that opportunity to network with that For the Region event.
That was fun. It was a great event, linking up local people doing good stuff. It's good to remember how many good people are doing good things in our area.
Yeah, and in fact, I know that you've got a bit of a link with Group Resilience. They had their Havergarth Spring Fair in Haverfordwest only yesterday, so I hope that, or Monday, sorry. So I hope that people enjoyed that. Those that made the trip down there with some buskers and some craft fairs going on, and the weather hasn't necessarily been kind to us as far as doing summer events. But next week, Jim, is National Barbecue Week, and
very exciting time.
It is very exciting. I hope that we get some prolonged sunshine. But we mentioned this in our little group chat, and you were like, "Oh, I wonder if people are aware as to where coal comes from." So, for those of you who might not know, Jim does the climate show every first Sunday of the month, and even though we're Wales and we're famed for our coal, what we put on our barbecue doesn't necessarily come from just down the road, does it?
No, well, this is charcoal really, rather than coal. Coal you dig out of the rock. But charcoal is made from timber, and if you go to a B&Q or somewhere like that, you'll probably get lump charcoal, and which is heavily impregnated with lighter fluids and stuff like that. So it's really easy to light. But what you really should be looking for is pure Welsh charcoal or locally made charcoal, which comes from sustainable woodlands. Which is a lot better. It's a lot more tasty food when you cook above it, but the reasons behind it are much bigger than just as a fuel source.
That's really interesting, because we go to the shops and we take for granted where things have necessarily come from, don't we? And we think, oh, this is going to be a guaranteed good product. And yes, it might be convenient, or we get the impression it's convenient, but actually we could be doing untold damage to our surroundings.
Yeah, I know, with the election coming up, we can't talk politics or anything, but of course, every single thing that we buy is very political. During the 90s, there was the anti-apartheid movement going on, and there was lots of boycotts of South African products, which helped bring down apartheid. And if we buy our charcoal without thinking about it, we could be helping the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest or the jungles of West Africa and things like that, which is a disaster for climate change and so many other things. So it's important to think about where we're buying our stuff from and why we're making those decisions.
That's a good point. Those areas, those regions you just mentioned, often called the lungs of the planet and things like that, and they're torn down for either grazing of cattle or for different charcoal, these mass-produced products. And actually, we might be causing a lot more damage than necessary to make a nice burger.
Definitely. And if you buy a local product, we've been making charcoal for nearly 30 years up in North Pembrokeshire in Aberkeith, but there are a load of other people up in the Cambrian Mountains and also South Pembrokeshire that are making local charcoal as well. And it keeps money in the local economy. It's from a sustainable woodland, so you know that more trees are being planted than being felled. It's giving a little job to people as well, and so it's a sound it's a sound purchase.
Yeah, so that's Clinview Farm. We were there over Easter. You had a lovely event over the Easter period. So let us know then, what goes into the process of making charcoal? Because I'll be honest, my logic goes back to reading history books and the fact that you had to put it in a peat mound and then you had to stoke it up and then leave it for days and days. What's the process?
Well, I've seen it done like that. I worked in Kenya in the 90s, and I've seen it done like that along roadsides and just smouldering away like mad. And it's a really romantic way to do it, but it's time-wise, it's not very efficient. And these days, generally, it's made in a large double-ring metal kiln. We're using a lot of ash at the moment because of the ash dieback. And you cut the wood, you leave it for about 18 months to dry, and the length of wood is about the same length as your forearm, and that sort of thickness. And then you fill the kiln. It takes a couple of hours to fill it, and then you light it. And the idea is to bake out all the moisture and all the tars and everything, and you end up left with pure carbon. And it'll take about 18 hours to burn. Then you've got to leave it for a couple of days to make sure it suffocates, because if you put no oxygen into a fire, it'll go out. And then you unload it, and it takes a couple of hours to unload it. And I've got one bag here for anybody that's watching on the camera. This is one of our bags.
Look at that.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
That is. So, how long does how much wood and how much time has that bag taken?
Well, from this burn, this is the only burn we've got done this year so far because of the bad weather. We get about 40 bags out. They're that sort of size. They're about 5 kilos. And you put in about half a ton of timber to get down to about 200 kilos of charcoal. So all the rest of that is moisture and tar and everything baked out of it. And if you don't do it well, then all that stuff would go up into the meat or the food when you're cooking above it.
Mm.
So it's as pure as it possibly can be. And a good piece of charcoal, you can break it and it has a tink when it breaks by hand. And it's got a blue tinge to it. Yeah, see, it's an art, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
blue tinge to it because it's absolute perfection then. And you can really taste it when you cook above it, especially if you're not used to it. You can taste the difference between that and this other awful stuff with all the lighter fluids and things like that, the pollutants in it.
Yeah, and so you get that like a genuine charcoaly, smoky flavor through the meats that you've made.
Yeah, definitely. And we find when we make charcoal, when we have a barbecue, we tend to use the smaller pieces rather than the big lump of pieces because you get much more even burn across the whole of the barbecue. Big pieces and they get really hot. But then you can, if you're not good at what you're doing, then you end up burning your food on top. So it's the small pieces have a much more even burn.
Oh, so you're gonna evenly cook what's on your barbecue. You're gonna get that lovely smoky flavor through it as well. Jim is enjoying a burger this morning with us with an emoji on the Facebook here, and of course we're coming to the end of National Hamburger Month. The other day was National Hamburger Day. Jim, I don't know what your favorite thing on the barbecue is.
Well, I haven't eaten meat in 35 years, so
I
it's
didn't think so.
but then there's fantastic stuff putting on sweet corn and all sorts of different things. I'm not that keen on the processed sausages and things, but going up to the garden and making beetroot burgers and things like that, it takes a bit longer, but you know what you're putting in. And then salads with it, going for the South African braai type thing where they're amazingly colourful rather than our floppy burgers that you get at church fetes and things. We need to be more imaginative on it. And it's a lovely event. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that about Clinview Farmers that you produce your own charcoal. You've got your own vegetables to go on the barbecue as well, and you've got a lovely atmosphere and community with the farm there. So yeah, if you are you still you had a whole calendar of events. How's that going?
Well, next one on the 5th of next month, 5th of June, we got a big lunch happening on the Wednesday on the 5th of June. So that's a national campaign, the big lunch. It's started by the Eden Project, and we're actually having a barbecue on that day. And if anybody would like to come along and join us, that'd be great. We're hoping that people will bring food to share too. So it's meant to be a real sort of community event. You mentioned when you came up the other day, that was part of the Fanoni Community Resilience Farm Start Scheme. And this is a talk about that and the farm actually is being sold to a community benefit society as a community venture. So that's sort of being launched on the same day too. So the most important thing is the good food, but there should be good talk and lots of other stuff happening as well.
Oh, fantastic! Lots to learn about. Talking of learning, I mentioned it scrolling on the bottom of the screen there. You are the host of the Climate Show here on Pure West Radio, first Sunday of every month, 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. What have we got in store this coming Sunday, the 2nd of June?
This coming Sunday, we're talking to Welsh Wind, who make liquor and stuff like that up in Aberporth. And then there's Splosh, who are based up in Wrexham. They're an environmentally friendly cleaning product company. So that's the link to the local products. But there's also talking with Cwtch Cymru, who are involved in helping refugees from Gaza. And a gig at Trahale Farm, which is on a week on Friday on the 7th of June, which is raising money to help refugees. And so it's, everything links to climate, the pressures on people in different places. And it's brilliant local community stuff. As I said, we live in a fantastic community with so many good people doing good stuff. It's an exciting time to be part of.
It's fantastic that you're able to put the spotlight on those organisations as well. You can tune in live between 9 and 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. And if you miss it, you can listen back to Jim's climate show after the show airs. And you can also catch up with the last few episodes as well that Jim's done over the last couple of months. Jim, thank you so much for joining us here this morning on the Breakfast Show with Folly Farm. Looking forward to the climate show already.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tom.
If someone wants to get one of those few bags of charcoal, how can they go about doing it?
Well, we only sell within 10 miles of here.
So,
yeah. So really, we want to teach other people to make charcoal, but get in touch, go on our website and we'll tell you where you can get it.
Amazing. There you go. Learn a new skill and have a tasty barbecue this summer. Jim, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you. Have a lovely day.